All right. So it'll come up here in a second. A little bit of background where I'm at right now. And like Coach said, I'm at Salisbury University. I've been there for 16 years as the head strength and conditioning coordinator, developer or director of sports performance now. Over the past 16 years, I've had the opportunity to work with 12 national championship teams, 8 individual national champions, over 340 All-Americans. I think we've won a total of 20 in 16 years, total of 20 different national championships. So the athletes that I get to train here, because, in this area that you guys live in, are pretty darn good. And, so I've been fortunate, and, some of the things that people don't get to see are these numbers here. Okay. So 20, the big number there, 20 times our teams have lost the national championship game, where they've been to the elite of the elite, right? The one game that everybody wants to win, whether that's your state championship, right? Your, whatever, tournament championship. We've been to the national championship game 20 times and have lost it, right? On top of the other ones that we've won. And, why I think this is important, I'll talk about this here in a second. It's important that we understand this, that it is not about that one time, right? It's about, how do I become the best I possibly can become and continue with that, right? So it just doesn't stop because I've reached that point, right? These teams, if you look men's lacrosse, so they have won it 12 times. They've lost it another 4 times, that national championship game. They want to get there, and they want to continue to grow every year to continue to get there. And so what that does is, yes, you're going to have games where you lose, right? And we can't define success off of wins and losses, okay? Our success, in terms of how I define it, and I want you guys to define it. We're going to do some activities here so you guys can get involved here in a second. But I want you guys to define, what is your success, right? My definition is, can I put the best work in every single day, right, to get better every single day, right? And to me, if I've done that, I can look at the end of my day and say, hey, this is what I've done today, then today's been a success, right? And all I'm trying to do is compound successes after successes, moment after moment, day after day, right? And I'm trying to do that consistently. Okay? Now, a little bit about me. So I played college baseball at Towson University, a Division I school, and I really wasn't very good. I'm not going to lie. Playing Division I, it's good caliber baseball. I got to play against Justin Verlander my senior year. He's pretty stud baseball pitcher, probably most likely going to be a potential Hall of Fame candidate in a few years. But looking at my career, and I think this is important to understand where I'm coming from on this, is my first year there, I didn't play a single inning. I redshirted, which means I had the opportunity to get stronger and bigger and faster and things along that line, more explosive. Then came my second year, and I didn't play another inning. I still didn't play an inning that year. So I've been in college baseball now for 2 years, and I didn't step on the field once to play the game, right? I practiced, but didn't play once. Then my third year, now I'm a redshirt sophomore. And in this third year, I only played 7 innings. That was it, right? We played 52 games in a year, okay? 52 games. 4 of those 7 innings came in 1 game. So that means the other 51 games, I played 3 innings, okay? And, I don't think I ever got, shy away from the game. I was passionate. Right? I loved the game. I loved every bit of the game. And I think that's something that you need to find within yourself, right? Most of us, I think we truly, if we love it, we love this. We love the games we play, and it could be multiple games. In high school, I played soccer and baseball, and I love both. I still to this day love the game of soccer. I also love the game of baseball, and I've now learned to enjoy and love the game of lacrosse. But you've got to find that within you, right? And again, that's going to be, we'll talk about it here in a little bit, but that's going to be something that drives you, right? Love for things continue to drive. And also coaches who love you, they'll help drive you as well. Parents who love you help drive you as well, right? But, why do I keep coming back? And again, it goes back to, yes, I did love the game. And that was part of my mindset. And we'll talk about that on the next slides here in a little bit. But Then finally I got the opportunity, my fourth year now in college. So I ended up playing for 5 years because I redshirted my first year. So I had an extra year of eligibility. I get into a couple games and I'm doing okay. And I get a game, my first start of that year against UMBC. And I took a no-hitter into the 7th inning and got my first college victory. About a week and a half later, I'm stepping off the bus and coach says to me, Matt, you've got game 2 today. And game 2 was against UNC Chapel Hill in college baseball. They are a top 25 team, generally a top 10 team every year, right? I mean, top 10 in the country, generally go to the College World Series. They're one of the best programs in baseball. And I ended up going out there and throwing a complete game shutout, the first time in about 128 games that they had been shut out, which is, if you think you play 50 games a year, roughly 50 to 60 games a year, that was over 2 years. They hadn't had a shutout. And just like that, I became the number 4 starter. I ended up going 5-2. I got invited to play in a collegiate summer league up in New York where I went 6-1. And just like that, I've gone from playing 7 innings and really not doing much to now being 11-3 over the course of a year. I came back my senior year. I got offered a scholarship for my senior year, so I didn't have to pay for school. And I was the opening day starter and team's number 1 pitcher. I ended up going 3-3 that year. Again, we changed conferences. We now joined a much harder conference. And like I said, we were facing Justin Verlander. He was a freshman my senior year. And again, but from where it went to where I ended up, it taught me a tremendous amount. And that's why I want to kind of bring that in here. And things that it taught me, it taught me three things here, right? The first one was the mindset, right? The mindset that we take is critical to being the best I can be, right? I cannot allow that to control me, right? And so we're going to dive into these and understand what's the difference between an elite mindset and what an average mindset is, because there's a difference, right? The elite think differently than the average, right? That's why they're elite. In our goal, I'm telling you, there's probably not one person here said, if I said to you guys, hey, who doesn't want to be successful? Who doesn't want to be, the best at what they do? Not one person's going to raise their hand, right? Now, if you said, hey, who wants to be successful? Who wants to be the best at their craft or whatever it is that you do, whether you stay in sports or into your jobs or, later on in life, whatever it is, who wants to be the best? I guarantee you every single one of us is going to raise our hand. Well, then we got to think differently than other people. And that's one thing that I took from this. If I wanted to get on the baseball field, I had to do things differently. My mindset was different than everybody else's. I was never going to throw 90 miles an hour. I'd top out at about 80 to 83, probably 83. I could push it to 85 if I got lucky that moment. But generally about 80 to 83 was about as hard as I'm going to throw. My head coach wouldn't let me throw a curveball. All right, I'm a college pitcher, and he wouldn't let me throw it because he didn't think it was good enough. So I had 2 pitches, a fastball and a changeup, and that was it. So everything was stacked against me completely. So my mindset had to be directed to be the best I possibly could. Right? If I want to step on this field and play, and I believe I can, my mindset's got to be right. And then I got to figure out, if I'm going to do this now, I got to commit to something, right? And I got to figure out what I'm going to commit to in order to be the best athlete I possibly can, so that if I do get that opportunity, I get the opportunity and I'm going to take advantage of it. Right? And again, that's what ended up happening. I did take advantage. I had done the little things, and we're going to break down what are the little things that you need. And again, hopefully you guys can write these things down over the next couple of days, or, come back and so forth when you get your worksheet. Write these down because they're critical. I needed to know what I needed to be better at, right? So from a lifting standpoint, in order to get onto the field of play, I had to be stronger. I had to be more powerful than the next guy. Because I just didn't have the God-given gift to throw the ball hard. I had guys on my team that were topping out 88 to 92 miles an hour, and they barely even worked. They were lazy, right? They were good. They were just gifted athletes, man. And what would happen if they've actually worked? Getting them to commit, right? They didn't feel they needed to because they had never needed that prior in their life, right? So I needed to figure out what I needed to commit to. Lifting was a piece that I needed to commit to. Running was a piece that I needed to commit to. Right? My nutrition was a piece I needed to commit to. Sleep was a thing that I needed to commit to. And I needed to do that because these were the things that I had control over. right? The other thing I had control over is still up there. Number one is my mindset. Going through every bit of this, I could have gotten discouraged. And our head coach asked me, he said, Matt, why did you stick around? Why were you still here? I just don't understand. For 3 years, you played 7 innings. Why did you stick around? I said, Coach, my mindset was, we're gonna contribute in some capacity. And I understood where my role was. However, I was never satisfied with that, right? I understood, right? There's going to be times where you're never going to play, and that's okay, right? I accepted my role, right? But I was never satisfied with that role, which means, yes, this is where you're at right now, and that's okay. But if I settled for that and was satisfied with that, I never worked, I never did anything, I would never have gotten any better. That means I would have never stepped onto that field of play. And even if I did step onto that field of play, it wouldn't have gone well because I didn't do anything to get there, right? My confidence would have been lower because I do the things necessary every day to be great? At that point, I probably wouldn't have, right? But when I define my commitment and understand from a lifting standpoint, what does that look like? From a running standpoint, what does that look like? Playing the game, from my skill work that I'm doing, what do I need to do every single day to be the best athlete I can become? Right? It's not a lot. At the end of the day, you might spend 5 to 10 minutes working on your skills, but it's that done consistency, right? Consistency of action. Right? All consistency of action is discipline. Right? That's all it is can you do the little things every day, day after day, to become the best you possibly can? And then can you take those distractions that are out there and can you manage them, right? And you got to manage them up here in the head. Can you manage those distractions, right? You're going to have friends who say, hey, let's go out, let's go do this. Is that ideal, right? There's going to be times where that's okay, right? But then there's going to be other times where we need to make the decisions, right, to change. And right now, we're at home. There's a lot of distractions, right? The cell phone, there's so many things that are out there. Having scheduled training sessions really helps with that. Right? But when you don't have those, what else are you doing, right? If you don't have practice right now from a sports skill standpoint, what can you do, right, so that you are disciplined? Right? And we're going to break all this down so we have this, so we understand what it's all going to, comes to play here. So understand here that mindset drives your attitude, right? That's first and foremost. You've got to have your mindset. It's just a pattern way of thinking. Okay. And what it ends up being, it becomes an attitude. How do you attack every single day, right? That's going to drive your behavior. Your behaviors will drive your actions. Actions will drive results. Results drive performance. Okay? So if we start off the day with a poor attitude, our behaviors, all right, or an attitude where it's not directed towards getting better, it's going to impact our behaviors. Obviously, we're not going to do the things. We're not going to act, right? Our actions, it's like, I'll just do it tomorrow, right? Right? We're not getting better today, right? And understand it's consistency in action day after day, moment after moment. Right? So we're not going to see the results, 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now, when we hopefully start playing again, getting back out there. If we haven't done what we needed to do, we're going to not see any results. We're not going to have gotten any better. Right? We're actually going to have gotten worse probably. Again, our performance is going to struggle because of that. And it's this continuous cycle, right? And it all starts having that mindset. So let's get a little bit in here and understand what this is. Okay. So I actually had the opportunity to talk with Auburn baseball. So Auburn baseball, this was a week and a half ago. And so a lot of this is some of the same stuff that I delivered to the Auburn baseball team. So if you don't know, Auburn baseball was in the College World Series last year. They're studs. There's some good ball players. A lot of first-round draft picks will be coming out. They'll have I think they were talking about having 2 or 3 first-round draft picks. They'll probably have 6 to 10 draft picks overall, which is insane. So looking at the 2, right? So the fork is now put in the road, right? You have 2 choices at this point from a mindset standpoint. You could either be average or you could be elite, right? And like I said, when we started this off, they think differently. The average think differently than the elite, okay? That's what makes them different. And so I want to kind of see how you guys, where you guys are with this kind of mindset thing. And so if you haven't read, this is a great book, Make Your Bed. But there's 2 things here with this. The first thing I want to do is just by a show of hands, I'm going to open you guys up here so I can see everybody. By a show of hands here, how many of you guys hit snooze in the morning? Probably right now, they just wake up whenever, right? How about when you had school, right? When you had to be up for school, sir. How many of us hit snooze? Right? Don't be afraid. Get your hands up there. Come on.
Every
Okay,
one of you better raise those hands.
Okay. So there are a handful of us, right? And now this is where I want you to look at how this all impacts everything. So, right. So hitting snooze, basically what that is telling us is that we're not willing to attack the day, right? We're willing to say, hey, you know what? The best part of my day can wait. I'm going to delay that. Right? And so I challenge you guys to come out of here and say, hey, you know what? When you do and I have to set an alarm again, I challenge you to not hit snooze. I challenge you to put your feet on the floor, get up and say, hey, this day is going to be great and I'm going to attack it and I'm going to be fired up about this day. Right? Again, you have to think differently than everybody else. If you want to be great, this is the way you need to think. I can't tell you, I don't think I've ever hit snooze, right, in my life, because this has been my mindset, as long as I can remember, going back into college, which has been over 20 years now. This has been my mindset every single day, is get in here and attack the day and make today the best, because that's all you have, right? We don't have tomorrow yet. We've already had yesterday. All you can do is make today great. Right? And again, that's a mindset. It's a pattern way of thinking. So why not get that pattern started at the beginning? Okay. Now, the second thing with this one here, how many of you make your beds in the morning? And let me open you back up. All right. We got a couple there. I see the Hollomas make their beds. Is that it? Nobody else makes their bed. Okay. Jose makes his. Okay. Emily makes hers. Right. Brandon got his. Maybe some others who aren't on camera make theirs as well. Okay. Coach, you guys make your beds in the morning? Cody? Okay. Coach Bravo does?
Don't, because Taylor wakes up after me.
Oh, okay.
I always make my bed.
Okay. All right. Now, you have the mindset here, right, of attack the day, get after it, let's get going. The second one is let's accomplish something right off the bat. Okay? Let's start off with a success. And your success is making your bed. Okay? So that when you come back, right, after school, after workouts, whatever it is, and it's time to go to bed, and you can get in there and just climb right in. It's nice and you don't have to take clothes off. You don't have to, that are whatever scattered all over your bed. You don't have to worry about that. Your bed is made. It's ready to go. Right? So it's a mindset and an action done right away at the beginning. Okay? That's to prep your day to make that day the rest of the day the best. Okay? So 2 challenges. Right. And coaches, I hope you guys can, challenge them up, right? Again, as we go day to day, how many of you guys, hit snooze, especially once we get started, back with school and we have a more steady day here. Probably now you guys are getting up at some of y'all might have just gotten up, right? Now, but yeah, challenge yourself, okay, every day with that. All right. So let's look here now at an elite versus an average mindset. Okay. And so this is what I want you guys to kind of jump here and get involved. So you're going to have to challenge yourselves and your thinking right now. And this is an activity. And again, on your worksheets that I have sent to Coach, he's going to send those out to you guys, worksheets that you guys can do on your own. We're going to do a little bit here as a group just to get the juices flowing inside the head. But I want to hear from you guys. I want you guys to now, because the reason why we do this activity is you need to know the difference in the two. Right? You need to know how elite thinkers think and how average people think. Okay. So let's look at it here from an elite mindset. If you want to be elite, what is an elite mindset? How do they think? Ideas. You just unmute yourself. Cody, are they unmuted? Are they able to unmute?
Yeah, everybody, you can unmute yourself.
Right? And just throw them out. Ideas, concepts. How does an elite athlete think?
Winning.
What's that? Say it again.
Winning.
Okay, so we'll write these down and we'll go through them here as we go. Okay. And again, it doesn't just have to be elite, right? If you want to take, what is an average mindset? And I'll give you an example. An average mindset is lazy, okay?
An elite mindset, you have a routine.
Routine. Cool.
An elite mindset is doing extra.
Okay. Elite extra.
Elite mindset is
What do you got, Carter?
elite mindset is like he keeps on looking ahead.
Okay. Good. So looking ahead. Okay. Go ahead. Who was in? Somebody had one. Say it again.
Determination.
Okay. Good. Determined. Right.
An elite mindset strives for better.
Okay. Strives for better. How about passionate? What do you guys think? Passionate? Would that be a good one? Okay.
Working when no one's looking.
Okay. Working when no one's looking.
Being a leader.
Okay. I like it. We're throwing out some good ones now.
Never giving up.
Okay. All right. So let's kind of dive, right? We've got a fair amount here on the elite side. Let's dive into like an average mindset, right? A lot of these, what we can do is just take, right, the opposite, right? So someone who, let's say, strives for better, right, on the elite mindset, right? The average mindset, right, doesn't care, right, on that end, right? So we would say maybe careless in what they do. Right? How about not focused? Right. Right. So they don't have any focus whatsoever. Gives up. That, you know, right? We said never gives up on the elite mindset, right? There's someone who's going to give up. Okay. Right. When
They
things
bring
get
others
tough.
down.
Say it again.
They bring others down.
Yes.
They do the minimum work.
Ah, good. So they do the minimum. Okay. Any others real quick? I've got any?
They're satisfied with the role.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So taking these here, right, and just kind of having this rough idea here between what an elite and the average mindset is, and some of those words that were thrown out, looking at the average, how many of us want to be around those type of people, right? Someone who is lazy, who is careless, who is not focused, who doesn't help others grow, right? Who gives up, who just does the minimum, right? Who wants to be around those type of people to begin with, right? And so where it ends up coming back here is, yeah, I've got to take that to heart on my own, and I've got to make that happen. Now, the problem is we're not always going to have an elite mindset 100% of the time. Unfortunately, it just doesn't work out. Right? You're going to have those times where your mindset goes from elite to average. Now, the goal here out of this is to minimize, right, the depth of the average thoughts and the frequency of the average thoughts. Because we're going to have that. There's going to be times where it's like, right? But what I want you to do, it becomes this concept known as awareness. Okay. It's self-awareness when this mindset, when these thoughts are coming about. Okay? Because you now know the difference between your elite versus your average mindset, you have the ability to distinguish between those great thoughts and those not so great thoughts. Okay. And again, when you get your work, challenge yourself in your worksheet, write more. Write as many as you can. And what I want you to do is when you see yourself being careless or not focused or doing just the minimum, understand, right, that you have an average mindset and figure out how to get out of that. Okay? Right? And part of that ends up becoming a routine, a performance routine. And coaches, I'm going to challenge you guys, right, to have them create routines. Right? And you may have a simple routine that gets you refocused, taking a deep breath. Right. A quarterback, Jameis Winston, when he was with Florida State, every time he'd have an errant pass or something along that line, he'd always tap himself on the leg with his hand. That was his mindset reset, right? When he was having these average thoughts, okay, or below average thoughts, and wanted to get to that, back to that elite level, he needed a mindset reset, right? You're going to have this, right? There's so many in sport, right? There's so many bad calls, right? The umpire, the referee, right? Right? There's nothing you can do. It is an uncontrollable. Right? You don't have control over that. Only thing you have control over is your mindset. Right? If you allow that, right, the other player, right, the referee, the umpire, whoever it may be, to gain control over you, you're going into that average mindset. And what that's going to result in is average or below average performance, right? Because we go back to that mindset loop, right? That's going to drive those actions, right? Drives our behaviors, behaviors drives our actions, actions drive our results, right? And it all stems from that mindset. Right? So we can't let that happen. Right? Now it's going to, but I want you to get out of that, or figure out how to get out of that as quick as you can. You're going to have to rely on your teammates as well to help you. Right? The ability to accept criticism is an elite mindset. Right? If you can't accept criticism from a coach, okay, from another player, right, then we are never going to reach that elite status. Okay? So you have to be able to be willing to accept that. Okay? And that will help put you in that direction to become the best you possibly can. Okay. All right. Let's continue on here. Now, looking at commitment, how many of you would say that you are committed to being the best athlete you can? Raise your hands. Okay, I'm seeing a fair amount of hands up there. Okay. Next question I have for you. What are you committed to? Any ideas? It gets a little bit more challenging now, right? We would say we're committed. What are we committed to?
I'm committed to my team.
Committed to your team. That's cool. I like that. Okay. I'm going to bring you another question here now. Okay. How do you know? Okay. How do you know you're committed? Okay. This becomes the challenge. I think that I'm committed. I think I might be committed to my teammates and to my team and to my coaches and to everybody else. But how do I know as the player? And then at what level? And this is where, things that we do at Salisbury University, we want to understand our commitment levels to becoming the best athlete that we can, which is a commitment to our teammates, to our coaching staff, and so forth. Right. So we define a commitment as a promise, an investment, right? It's something that is long-term. It requires perseverance, right? It's selfless, right? Meaning that I've got to help other people out. Right? It takes action, right? You've got to do this day in and day out. It takes dedication, right? Day in and day out. And it takes loyalty. This is what you typically see as the definition. And what it ends up meaning is it is a choice, right? Commitment is a choice. It's the choice you make in the actions you do. Right? So the definition that I like in terms of what commitment is, right? Commitment transforms a vision into reality. We have to understand where we want to go, right? And that's where commitment comes, right? If you look back as my career, I wanted to be the best baseball player I could possibly be. That was my vision, okay? And it may not be the best vision back then. I've learned a lot since then, right? But that was my vision. I wanted to be the best baseball player I can. Right now, I would tell myself with my mindset, hey, you've got to work. You've got to be good, right? To get good, you've got to work, right? So those are the words that speak boldly of my intentions, but then it was the actions that speak louder than those words. It was the things that I was willing to do every day to become the best I possibly could, right? It was the work, again, we already said this, that was the work that was being done when nobody was looking or nobody was telling, right? We consider this to be, at Salisbury, we talk about this as being the edge, right? The edge is where average ends and elite begins. Right? If you just go and do only the work that coach is telling you, only the work that your coaches, your sport coaches are telling you, again, you might be close to that edge, right? But you're still in that average category, right? The edge is where average ends and elite begins, right? We want to get over that edge, right? We want to be into that elite. And this is what it is, right? Have a vision, right? Correct self-talk in what you're going to do. You need to act on what's going to occur, right? This is what commitment is all about. Okay? And it is choices that are done daily to become great. That's what commitment is. Okay? And at the end of it, what it all means is our habits. Okay? Our habits that we have every day are what allow us to be deeper or more committed. Okay? If you have bad habits, right, just understand the habits will win out. Right? If you don't like working out and you tell yourself that from negative self-talk every day, that I have to go to training today, right? Understand you're never going to reach that average mindset. Right? We've got to create quality habits, and they need to be done every single day. It's the little things, right? It might be just picking up the bat and taking 5 swings if you're a baseball player, right? It might going out and hitting the wall with the soccer ball if you're a soccer player, right? Just getting some of that footwork in. Create better habits, right? And they're tiny gains. Right? And I'm going to talk about this one here. Has anyone ever heard the story of the power of the penny before? Now, I've had the opportunity, this is actually in a book that I've had the opportunity to share some of my stories with. So this one's a pretty cool one. Again, now a show of hands here. If you guys see a penny on the ground, how many of you pick it up? Don't be afraid to put them up there. Okay, so we've got not many, maybe like 5 or 6 of us actually pick the penny up. Okay. My question to you is why? Why not? Why don't you pick the penny up? Anybody?
Because it's not that much of value.
Yes. The penny alone has no value whatsoever. Okay. Now, again, with a show of hands, if we see a dollar bill on the ground, how many of us pick it up? All right. So you guys can see everybody, right? As you go scroll through, every single hand just went up, right? Prior to that, when we said the penny, only a few hands went up. Okay. All right. So what we do know is that for every dollar, right, there's 100 pennies, right? 100 pennies make up a dollar. This is your math lesson for today, right? 100 pennies, $1. Awesome. We just now passed today's math questions. How often do you see dollar bills on the ground? Very rarely, right? Now compare that to how often do you see pennies or even small change on the ground, right? We probably see pennies a lot more often, nickels and dimes, maybe quarter here and there. We see that a lot more often than we ever see dollar bills, okay? Now, let's put this into context of being an athlete, okay? And let's use the pennies, right? The pennies, we know that for every 1 penny that we collect, we are closer to more money, right? As that being an outcome. So for the athlete, the pennies now resemble the process, right? The process are the things that we need to do daily to become better, right? That's lifting, it's running, it's our recovery, which is our nutrition and our sleep. It's playing the game, right? And it's the mental skill development. It's those things, right? The penny, that's what that resembles now, okay? Again, a single workout isn't going to mean anything, right? It's the compounded workouts day after day, week after week, right? In the way in which your coaches are developing them, that's going to create results in 4 weeks from now. Right? If you just haphazardly work out one day and then don't do it again for 3 or 4 days and come back, you're never going to see any results, right? Now think about this, right? So the more pennies I pick up, the closer I am to reaching more money. So looking at it from an athletic standpoint, and that being the process, why would we not pick those pennies up, right? These things are the things that are going to guarantee us to become better. Or we don't pick them up and we just want to hope that we win, or become more successful, whatever that is, or hope that we win the conference championship or the state championship, right? When picking up those pennies or doing the process elevates my chances, right? Every penny that I pick up, I get more money. Every process that I do gets me closer to becoming better. Right? But in the individual, it has little to no value. And that's a mindset. Right? And so what I challenge you here is when you see money on the ground, pick it up. Right? Don't allow, right? Because what it's telling you is that you're saying that by walking over that penny now, you're saying to yourself that the process doesn't matter. Right? The little things in life don't matter. Right? And I can tell you, everything matters. The little things matter, right? The process to become better matters. And that's what allows you to become elite. Again, it goes back to that elite mindset versus the average. The average people are willing to walk over the little things that will guarantee them success. The elite are not. Right? The elite are not willing to walk over those little things. They're not willing to walk over those pennies because they understand that one penny has value when you add it to others. Right? Now, we did this. So I challenged our football team to do this. And we had a bin in our weight room, and we called the bin Big Money because that's what we wanted, right? Everybody's goal was to have more money, right? So we had a bin sitting in there. And anytime any player on our team found change on the ground, wherever they did, they had to pick it up and bring it to the weight room. Right? At the end, we did this for, I want to believe it was about 10 weeks, somewhere in that 9 to 10 week range that we did this. At the end of 10 weeks, we had $25. And you say, wow, that's not all that. I mean, that's a fair amount of everybody who wouldn't take $25, right? Not one person is going to raise their hand, right? Everybody wants it. Everybody wants $25, right? Now, it goes further than that. At Salisbury, we had Giving Day. And so that anytime an alumni or current student donated money to the university, it doubled. So that $25 then that we had was donated to the program and became $50. So just like that, those pennies that had zero to no value now just put $50 in our program's budget. I mean, and that was just guys finding change on the ground. I think we had about 80 guys roughly on the team finding, some change here and there, so forth, and putting it into this bucket, right? So the pennies have value. It's just they only have value when they compound day after day, just like all the training that we're doing, right? Everything on that aspect, it has value. It may not have it in the moment, but it has value. And that value is going to come, right, somewhere down the road. And we have to understand that the work we're doing, it will see the rewards when we get there. Right? We just have to let it happen. Okay, same concept here. And that's the power of the penny. All right, so from here on out, I don't want to see you guys walking over pennies. I want you to pick them up, right? Understand that they have tremendous value in your day, okay? All right, looking at our habits now, right? We consider these to be process habits of champions. Now, this is something on your worksheet, and we'll quickly talk it out here. On your worksheet, I want you to kind of define these to you, right? What do they mean, right? So these are the 5 pillars of athletic greatness. Okay? And these are the 5 pillars that we believe at Salisbury University, and I believe, that are going to allow you to become an elite athlete, right? Now, you guys, school is also important, okay? That's a critical piece as well, okay? But in terms of athletic ability, okay, these are 5 critical pieces, okay? We have to lift, okay? That's out of season, that's in season, right? It is extremely important. We have to run, right? That's speed development, that's change of direction work, that's agility, right? That's conditioning. It's critical, right? Recovery, that is our nutrition, right? Our sleep, and then any other active or passive recovery, right? So stretching, foam rolling, rolling on a lacrosse ball, all those things would fall into that category. We've got to play the game, right? And this isn't going out and playing games, right? Competitions. This is picking up the stick and doing wall ball if you're a lacrosse player, taking swings, fielding ground balls. This is the extra stuff, right? The skills associated with the game. Okay? And then the 5th one is our mental conditioning. Okay? Now, what we want to do here is we want to define what do these look like. Okay? And this is something I want you guys to do, right? Is to define, right, for your process habits of champions. In order to be the best me that I can be, right, the best athlete I can be, what do I need to do lifting every day? Right. And there's going to be days where, right, maybe I only lift Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Okay. Maybe only lift Tuesday and Thursday, depending upon where you're at right now. Okay. Are there other things that I can do, right, that relate to that? Is there some technique work that I may be able to get in on some of those other days? Right. Maybe do I do some core work on those other days? Right. Again, you've got 2 great coaches, right, that can help you out with that piece if you need to define this a little bit more. But I think it's critical to define. Okay. Same thing with your running recovery, right? Let's look at let's look at recovery, right? How many hours of sleep should I get every night? Right? Now, research is showing that when we get less than 8 hours of sleep a night, our risk of injury goes up almost 2 times. So you're almost 2 times more likely to be injured if you're sleeping less than 8 hours. How many of us are getting 8 hours of sleep, especially once school is really rolling, right? When we've got to get up, we got to, get up at maybe 6 a.m. to get dressed, get ready, get off to school. And then we have that. Then we're playing, in the afternoon or practicing or doing our training sessions. Then we've got homework to do, right? And all of a sudden, just like that, the day got us, right? And now I'm only getting 5 or 6 hours of sleep. Right? Why would you put yourself at a greater risk of injury? Right? It makes sense. Figure out how you can get better at, when these process habits, right, are defined. Now you have to figure it out. Right? I need to now schedule myself to figure out how can I make sure, right, because this is important to my athletic greatness, I got to get 8 hours of sleep. And it doesn't mean I slack on my schoolwork, right? Because you don't play if you're not eligible, right? You don't get into college if you don't have quality grades, right? It's extremely important piece, but you need to figure out time management better at that point. Right? So it all comes into play, right? This is how elite people think. Right? Right? Playing the game, what does that look like? If I'm a baseball player, right? How many ground balls should I be taking every day? How many swings off of a tee, or how many swings in general should I be taking? Right? Those things. What are the skills necessary to become better? Let's say I play basketball, right? How many free throws should I take? How many from jumpers should I take? How many from three should I take? How many layups? How much ball handling should I do? Right? Those are the little things that you need to define. And maybe on Monday, you do ball handling for 15 minutes and that's it. Right? And then as we go, maybe we start reevaluating these a little bit and understanding, hey, right? Yeah, maybe I can get a few shots in too. Right? I don't want you to feel overwhelmed by this, because it's not something that, man, I'm going to spend now 3 hours of training. No, right? Remember, it's doing a lot of things, right? Or doing a little bit of things a lot. Okay. That's all you have to do. Do a little bit every day. Okay. That's what you need to filter that down to. Okay. Mental conditioning, right? We already talked about working on our routine. That's one thing that we could create right now, right? Develop your routine. What is your routine that's going to allow you to refocus? Okay. And then there's other things that you can work on. How do you control your emotions, right? Understanding the concept of event plus response equals outcome. Okay. So every day, everything you do, there's going to be an event, right? So you had to get up, you had to do your schoolwork this morning. That's an event. Okay. All right. What is your response going to be for that event? Right? That response that you have is going to dictate your outcome. Right? It goes back to that mindset. Remember, we set that alarm and we hit it and we got up and got after it. My outcomes are already going to be a little bit more positive throughout the rest of that day. Right? So think of that, E plus R equals O. And what I'm going to challenge you with that is when that event comes, your first thing that you're going to do is press pause. That allows you to get your mind right so that your emotions don't take over, because our emotions take over our rational brain. Right? Don't allow your emotions to take over. Press pause. And this can be in any moment, right? You just gave up a goal, soccer, right? Press pause. Get your mind right. Figure out what we're going to do to be in the moment, to be present, attack and get after it. Right? We can't dwell on the past, right? So again, that might be part of your emotional management control. Okay. Right, a lot of cool stuff, and I can give you a lot more info on that as we go here. All right, so let's get to some nuts and bolts here, right, of this. So I think we've killed the mindset. We understand, well, how the elite think and how the average think, right? Now, what you need to do is align yourself, right? This is something that in the worksheet that I have for you guys, right, it is defined out. You can define what your vision, mission, values, your standards, and championship ideals are going to be, right? What it's telling you is it's what you need to commit to. Okay, so let's look at our vision here and kind of what this is all about. Right now, I would recommend that you have your own vision, okay, your own personal vision, your own personal mission. Again, you could do this with teams as well. We do it with teams. We do it with individuals. So looking at this first question here, what would you like for people to say about you and your team? So let's talk about just you. What would you like for people to say about you, right? Opposing teams, man, this individual is a hard worker. He's passionate. He's dedicated, right? What would you like them to say? That's how you're going to frame your vision. Okay. Now, I'll give you an example. One of our visions for our men's lacrosse program is to be a true champion, someone that embraces the process and passionately commits to being the best team and teammate daily. That's it, right? It's not to win national championships, right? It's not to be an All-American. It is to be a true champion, someone that embraces the process and passionately commits to being the best team and teammate daily. That's it. Okay? That's why we play the game. That's why we come lift. That's why we do what we do. And that's what we want people to say. So at the end of a training session, I can look at them and say, hey, were you passionate today? Right? Did you passionately commit to being the best team and teammate today? Right? And I can evaluate that a little, to a degree. Okay. Now the mission is how we're going to go about doing that. Okay. So look at this question. What would you like for people to say about how you approached each day? Okay. He was hardworking, or she was hardworking. Right? She was dedicated. She was honest, right? She was passionate. She was committed. You could see the love. Okay? That's what we want to see here in the mission. How are you going to go about doing everything you need to do each day? How are you going to do it? I'm going to do it with passion. I'm going to do it with vigor. I'm going to do it with fire. Okay? Those are three things that I feel on my end of my mission, right, are going to allow me to reach mine, to impact, influence, and inspire greatness in everybody I come in contact with. I'm going to make sure that I am passionate. I show my love, right? Those are critical pieces there. Okay? So again, create your own, right? This gives you that alignment to stay on the path, right? Because like you said, you're going to have those ups and downs, right? Its goal is to minimize the downs. Our vision and mission help keep us on the direction. Okay? They're going to help align us. Right? Developing your values, okay? And this is something I want you to work on, right? In 5 words or less, tell me what it means to be, right? It could be your team. It could be you, right? What are those 5 words, right? Figure those out on your own. Write them down, right? Figure out what your core values are, right? So my program's core values are attitude, enthusiasm, energy, and effort, right? So in anything that I do from a coaching standpoint, from our players' standpoint, when they come into our training facility, they've got to have the right attitude to begin with. Okay? We got to create enthusiasm. They've got to bring a level of enthusiasm that's going to create a room energy. Okay? And we've got to bring effort every day. Right? These are 4 things that we can control, that I can control in myself, that our players can control in themselves. Okay? Again, create your own core values, right? They help guide you, right? They align you so that you stay in that right path. Right? Now this is our men's lacrosse. Okay. Our head coach always talks about getting the edge. And so we've broken that down into a little bit more, right? So we talk about being a family, right? That gets the edge because of our grit, right? So we want to get past the edge, right? Because that edge is where average begins, or average ends, and excellence begins. So we got to get there. We got to get past that, right? So we're going to get that edge, right? Because of our grit. So we're going to have effort-driven growth and excellence in what we do. We're going to put the effort in, okay? We're going to be driven, okay? We're going to be focused on what we need to do. We're going to grow. We're going to get better. And we're going to be excellent, means that we're going to not only help ourselves, we're going to help others get there. And we're going to do this because we are going to guarantee a relentless intensity in everything that we do. Right? Our intensity as it relates to being in the weight room, to running, to whatever it is, it will guarantee it is going to be relentless. Right? And these guys are going to get after it. There's a reason why, right? For the past 30 years, every single player who's joined our program, if you've been there for 4 years, has won a national championship. Right? There's a reason. Right? And a lot of this is why. It's because that effort, they're not going to let any stone be unturned. Right? They're going to be driven and focused and dialed in. They're going to grow. They're going to get better because they put the effort and they're focused. And they're also going to help others get there because they know they can't do it by themselves. And then we're going to see a level of toughness, right? When things get tough, right? It becomes a mindset. How do we react, right? And I won't even say that. How do we respond, right? It goes back to E plus R equals O. How do you respond is critical, okay? Not how you react, right? Reactions are emotional, right? Respond. Right? Press pause, right? Get your mind right? Figure out what you need to do and attack that. Right? All right. Another activity for you guys to do here is break these standards down. Okay, once you have your values and understand what your values are, what does that value look like in lifting? Right? So if, let's say, effort is one of your values, how does that, what would that look like in lifting? Right? I want you to figure that out, right? It's going to take some time. It doesn't take a lot, but I want you to sit down and think about it, right? And the reason I want you to do that is because once you do it and you develop it, it starts to bring that to life, right? If I sit here and did it for you, right, it would just be something else, right? So I want you to do it, right? Again, we go through this with our athletes, right? There's a reason, right? We went back to that. Yes, we lost the national championship 20 times, right? But we talked about it, the value of consistency, of being elite, right? Just because we didn't win doesn't mean we aren't elite, right? These athletes, they're elite athletes, and they're elite athletes for a reason, right? Because part of it is we want them to understand, right, what we need to do every day to be the best. And then we're going to evaluate that. Right? So from your standards, what do they look like? Here's some examples, okay? So in the weight room, right, one of ours might be to attend every lift session. And that might be yours too. And that's fine, right? And that value, that might be something related to sacrifice. You know what? My friends want to go out on Friday night, right? Friday afternoon, right? Want to go to the beach, but I got to get to my lifting session. Okay. What do you want, right? Do you want to be average or do you want to be elite? That's your choice. Remember that. It's a choice. Okay. So some other things that we do, right, we talk about maybe family, right? This would be our field hockey team, right? One family being united, right? We wear the same color clothing when we come in, right? Now, these are teams, but we could easily do these for the individual, right? Positive mindset, right? That might be something as it relates to being focused, understanding the process, okay? Again, so you guys can kind of look at these as we go. So from, let's say, a recovery standpoint, what does that look like? From a nutrition, what does sacrifice mean? Right? Well, I'm going to make sure that I eat, right, 3 meals a day. That might be challenging enough for us, 3 quality meals. Right? If not, or let's say that's normal, right? That's already the norm. Challenge yourself, right? Break that down even further, right? Speak with your coaches, right? From a nutrition plan, right? I had a football player talk with me yesterday. We went through all this, right? We understand where he's at, and he is no longer at the point where he is just eating. He is now eating to become a champion, right? So we are now breaking his nutrition down because he's made the commitment, right? And we've been able to see that in his process over the past. Hasn't been with us for even a full year yet, okay? But you can see that because he's worked on these things. Right? That's going to allow him to take that next level, right? Remember, a standard is just a minimum. It's the minimum requirement to be great. Right? We want to go above standard at times, right? So think about that. What are your standards going to be for each of those categories, right? You can see playing the game for lacrosse, for example, or field hockey. I'm going to pick up the stick 3 to 5 hours per week, okay? I'm going to shoot, right? Maybe in lacrosse here, I'm going to do wall ball, every single day, and maybe I'm doing wall ball for 15 to 20 minutes. And it's not just necessarily consistency in action, right? It's consistency in specific actions, right? If I just go on there and I'm just not focused and I'm just throwing the ball against the wall or just taking swings or just kicking the ball against the wall without any focus or any detail, I'm probably not going to get that much better, right? You're better off dialing in, being specific, right? And then stepping out, right? Let's hit the wall for 3 minutes as hard as I can. Hit that wall hard as you can, do what you need to do, right? Take a break, right? Hit the wall 3 minutes hard as you can, right? Dial in and focus and then step back, right? I think you'll have be a lot more successful in that aspect. But it's critical that we write these down. Spend the time to write them down, right? I have this ready for you on your worksheet. Right? Spend the time, and you don't have to have a lot, right? 1 or 2 or 3 under each of those categories and work on them, right? Work on them. All right. Last piece here, winding down here, is you now have to go through a little bit deeper of an awareness, right? We've got to assess ourselves. And again, this is what I want you to do right now. So where you are at, right? If you don't have a piece of paper, that's fine. Just remember your number. Okay. Here's what I want you to do. Over the past, let's say 8 weeks, Okay. Last 8 weeks. Now what we do is we usually do seasons, right? So when I do the off season, I'll do their in season and I'll do their summer. So we just break it down into those 3 seasons. But let's say for the past 8 weeks since we've been in quarantine here, I want to understand, I want you to see your level of commitment to becoming the best athlete you can become. On a scale of 1 to 10, now I'm going to give you the scale here, right, in a second so you guys can see that. Right? On a scale of 1 to 10, right, how committed were you to lifting? Okay. Now, if you were to lift 3 days a week and you weren't getting there, there's no way that you can be an 8, right? So an 8, right, is somebody that is committed, right? Somebody that is an 8, right, on anything, they have met what a standard would be, okay? Right? I want you to do the same thing. So on a scale of 1 to 10, you're running. How committed are you to have been to running? Recovery. Remember, recovery is our nutrition and our sleep and other recovery modalities, right? 1 to 10. Playing the game, 1 to 10. And mental conditioning, a 1 to 10. Okay, now, hopefully you can see this. If you have a computer, you should be fine. On your phones, right? It might be, I'll kind of break it down for those who are on their phones, right? So on those 5 categories, score yourself right now, 1 to 10, okay, on each one of them. Okay. Now, to be considered an 8 to 10, you've got to be somebody that shows up with effort and enthusiasm. You got to do everything that's asked of you. You got to do extra when it's convenient. You want to improve, you push yourself, but not others, right? That's to be an 8. Right? To be a 10, you do everything that's asked and then some. You're willing to go above and beyond. You push outside of your comfort zone. You make people around you better. You bring in excellent effort and enthusiasm, and you're always well prepared. To be a 5 through a 7, you do the bare minimum. Okay? You do just about, this is to be a 5. You do the bare minimum, may or may not attend. Right? You go through the motions. You put no extra effort or enthusiasm in. You're happy to be there. Right? Your teammates are indifferent of your presence. You always need to be pushed, and you bring excuses. That's a 5. A 7 does what's told, lacks initiative, meets the standard, but doesn't do much more than that, needs direction, right? Does not detract or add to the program, and is easily influenced both positive and negative, right? To be under that, a 1 through a 4, right? A 1, poor attitude, interferes with the session, pulls teammates away, detracts from the work environment, is influential in the wrong direction, and always complains, blames, defends, things along that line. To be a 4, does the minimum sometimes, other times less, half effort or enthusiasm, is inconsistent, views requirements as a hindrance, not willing to buy in, and doesn't necessarily work hard outside of the comfort zone, right? So score yourself on each of these, where you think you are. Once you have that, what I want you to do is add that number up, right? This is math part 2 here. Add that number up and then multiply it or double it, right? Multiply it by 2, just double that number. So now we're taking it out of 100, right? And you should have a score now, right? And so now look at that score. How many of us scored above 80%? Anybody? A couple of us scored above 80%. Okay. Now, understand we know scores out of 100, right? I mean, that's generally our tests, our schoolwork, things like that, right? So we know when we scored a 75%, what is that? Right? That's a C, right? That's average. Okay. Right. So our commitment has maybe, if we're scoring in that 70 range, has been average. Okay. And now we can also see, right, we could double, we could look at our scores and say, okay, where do I need improvement? And that's what this whole piece is for as it relates to commitment, is not just saying, hey, here's where I'm at. Now it's okay, how do I get better? Right? If maybe on my nutrition was my low one, hey, I now know where I need to focus a little bit more. Let's keep going at it as it terms to running and train and lifting. Man, I got those, man. I'm 8s or 9s in those, but my nutrition is bad. Right? Let's dial in. Let's focus up a little bit on that. Okay. And again, it doesn't have to be challenging too much, right? We don't have to, have these crazy, diets and things like that. And that's not what I'm talking about. Right? It's eating to become a better athlete. Okay. And your coaches there can both help drive you in the right direction for that. Okay. But assess yourself and then continue to assess yourself, right? Use this as a tool to see, right? We do this with some of our teams that I train with, is we might do this one, we do another one, but we do it weekly, right? I want you to understand where you're at and how do we get better, right? And so we'll look at it on a more weekly basis, right? Now, you say, well, where's all this coming from? So this book that was written is called The Commitment Continuum by Jeff Jansen. And one thing that he is stating in his research is that our most successful teams were scoring 80% or higher on their scales. Right? So think about that. Makes sense, right? We're doing things that are above average. Okay? If you're in the 8s or 9s, you're in 80 to 90% range. Those are things that you're doing above average. That's how we become elite, when we do things with the elite mindset. Right? And this is where we specifically, I'm not a big fan of the compliant. I want to see people committed and compelled. Okay. All right. So where do we go from here? Right. And again, hopefully your coaches can help you out with this, but also you're going to have to do an evaluation yourself, right? Self-reflection. Okay. How do I make adjustments? What do I need to get better at? Okay. So these are basically everything that we could come across that helps our athletes get better, right? Some people need to work harder. Okay. Some people need to communicate better, right? Some people need, like I said, maybe need to be more vocal, right? Some people might need to adjust their attitude a little bit more, or their mindset, right? Some people need to work on the skill. Some people need to work on their team camaraderie, right? Emotions, right? How many of us get all upset and show our emotions out on the field? Right? It doesn't help, right? Let's work on those things. Those are things that are going to allow us to work to become more committed, right? And more compelled. That's where we want to be. Right? And so I also provided this for you guys as well. So there's a weekly commitment tracker. And if you look here on the left, we have all of our standards, right? So these are the standards, right? And that's how we're going to assess. Okay, so let's say for our lifting standards, right? I followed the program to a T. I did my 4 lift sessions per week, right? I did 2 other lift sessions with teammates. So that might've been, we've gone and done some core work. We've done some recovery work, right? Things along that line, or some technique work. This is for us, for one of our teams. Right? I did everything with a positive mindset. We look at part of being a family is high fives and body contacts. So we had to accomplish 35 team body contacts, high fives, and we were wearing SU gear. Okay? And if I was able to do that, and I did it, but I didn't necessarily help other people, I would say I'm committed, right? I'd go back to that previous scale, which I also provided for you guys, right? So this one here, right? If I just did enough with what I was told, I met standard, I needed direction and motivation, I'm going to be a compliant athlete, right? I'm going to be falling into that yellow category, the second yellow there, okay? And so, right, if we lift, this group here lifts on, let's say they lift Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with us, right? And they can check off that, if they condition with us, condition 5 days a week, right? They can check off and see where they're at. And then what we're looking for is we want to score ourselves, right? How many check marks do you have in the committed and compelled category? Right? The whole total here, I think, is 23. Okay. So if you have somewhere in that range, let's see, 5, 10, 15, 23 check marks. If you have, out of 23 check marks, how many do you have in committed and compelled? Right? Divide that by 23, and that'll give you your score. And again, now we're scoring every week. Right? How committed are you? Right? And then you have the opportunity each week to write goals, small goals. Okay? If your nutrition was bad, or your sleep, rest, recovery wasn't ideal, or you didn't play the game that much, let's write some mini goals. Hey, I want to focus a little bit. Now they got to be measurable, right? So just saying, hey, I want to work on playing the game more doesn't mean anything, right? Just make it specific, make it measurable. Okay. Again, I'm sure Cody's talked about making SMART goals. Right? It's the same idea, concept. Let's define them. Let's get, a little bit more specific. And let's go all the way back, allow our vision and our mission, right, and our process habits of champions, right, or our standards drive us, right? Let's try to reach those every day, every moment of every day. Strive for those, right? That's how elite people work, right? It's not any secret sauce here, right? That's how we work, okay? How many of us use daily planners? Okay. Again, you know, we've got to be able to do them, right? Again, this is a sample coming out of my daily planner, right? It gives you, it puts you on pace, right? It gives you that direction, right? I have my values, right? I understand what my goals are for the day, right? And I have the daily of how my day is going to go, right? At the bottom is my vision statement: to impact, influence, inspire greatness in those in which I come to contact with daily, right? My family's going to drive me, my mindset's going to drive me, my effort's going to drive me, and my discipline's going to drive me, right? And I see that, and I know that. And as soon as my mindset starts to drift, right, I need to get back into my values. I need to get into value too and say, hey, you know what? Your mindset is important to get us where we want to go, right? And I know if I have everything broken down, right, I know from a lifting, running, recovery, playing the game, and mental skills development, what I need to do for that day, right? That would be your daily goals, right? Then you break that down and make that specific, right? Other things you can do is a 168. Again, you can break your day down if you want, get a little bit more detail. All right, so that's all I have. I'm going to stop the share here. Questions. You know, what questions do you guys have? I know there's a lot of information. Again, I've provided this. I've sent this all over to Coach so that he can, you know, you guys can sit here and break that out, break this down. But I think it's critical, right? It goes back to those three concepts: your mindset, right? Your willingness to commit, right? And the consistency in specific actions, right? That is also known as discipline. Questions?
What are some ways you can work on your mental conditioning?
Okay, so we said first one that you have is your routine, right? So routines are critical for that. Looking at focus, okay? Let's say focus is typically something that is often lost. Understand that it goes back to self-awareness and situational awareness, right? Is understanding the situation that you're in and where your self-talk is, okay? So being able to handle those, we need to understand how to do self-talk, right? How to create positive self-talk first, right? So sit back, work on that, right? Work on, we call it scripting, right? So you know that you're going to have, I don't know, like different events, right, throughout the day, right? So let's say you go to practice and odds are probably coach is going to yell that day, right? Okay. So let's script out how we're going to respond to that, right? Before we even get there, right? And so what we're doing is we're creating this positive self-talk in our mind before it even happens, right? So those are some things that you can work on from that aspect to help really dial back in focus, right? Because that's what it is. Your mind is starting to wander. That's why we lose focus, right? Use your scripts, right, to dial back in, right? For example, another good one, like you're driving, you know there's going to be crazy drivers. You may not. Some of you drive. Josh, you drive? Briggs? Not yet. You look like it. No. But again, even with your dad, let's say your dad's driving, right? How many times are they yelling, screaming, right? We can't control those things, right? But we can script ahead of time so that we can be prepared, right? So that our positive self-talks allows us to stay focused in the moment, okay? One activity that we do, and I don't know, Cody, have you done it with him at the Tower of Hanoi yet?
No, I have not.
Okay, cool. Cody's going to do this with you guys, the Tower of Hanoi, and I'll talk to him so he gets it. The Tower of Hanoi, it's an awesome game, right? Basically, we do a 45, 25, 10, 5, 2.5, right? And they're stacked one on top of the next. And then we have 3 boxes, right? And the goal would be to get that whole stack into the 3rd box, okay? Now, this is what we do to intro this to our team. And so what has to happen is that, you only have 2 rules. You can only move 1 plate at a time, and a bigger plate can't go on top, right? So I can't put the 5 or the 2.5 down, and the 5 can't go on top of that, okay? Big plate can't go on a little plate. And what ends up happening is, from a mental standpoint, we tend to focus on the outcome. We don't focus on the most important thing that's next, and that's the next action, okay? Another great one, and I'll talk with Cody so that he can run this for you guys so you can see it. Another good one is concentration grids. You can Google these. You go online, just Google concentration grids. And in a concentration grid, what you're trying to do is you start with the 0, and then you scratch out each number one at a time, right? 0, 1, 2, and it's 99 well, it's 100 numbers, but 0 to 99 in a box. And you're trying to find them. Now, what happens is our minds start to wander, and I remember where 2, 3, and 4 are, but I can't find 1. And what happens is our mind becomes distracted because we're trying to remember where 2, 3, and 4 are, and it's making it harder to find 1. So what we want to do is lose that, try to refocus on finding only the number 1 and not worrying about where 2, 3, and 4 were. Okay, so concentration grids are great. The issues are you need to figure out how that works with your sport. Right? These are all great activities to do, but they need to connect to your sport then, right? So think about when you lose focus on the field, right? Your routines are critical. Your self-talk is critical, okay? So those are things that you need to have in place so that you can refocus. So again, I can send a list over to Cody to get that out to you guys. I'm trying to think. So we've got emotional management, that's self-talk. Focusing on there. So your self-talk, your routines, and E plus R equals O, and understanding the value in a response are probably the 3 biggest ones that I would work on right now. Another one, then the 4th one would be visualization, right? Seeing yourself do things before they happen. That's another great piece. Good question. Any other questions?
Is it a bad idea to do like 2 types of exercise on the same day, like go for a morning run and like an evening workout?
No, definitely not. I mean, having that separation is good. Generally, like if let's say you're doing a sprint workout and a lifting workout, right? Those can be put together. But if you're going to go for like a long, slow jog, there's definitely separation is good, is better for the body in the responses of the body. So yes, separate those. But if you're going to go out and you're going to do some sprint work, now remember, speed, it requires maximal effort. Right? So if you want to get faster, you've got to sprint at maximal effort. If you're fatigued and tired, you're not working on speed at that point. You're going to be working on conditioning. Okay. So just separate those 2 in your mind, right? There's days where we want our teams, we're solely working on speed. It is a complete walk back. So let's say we're going to sprint, let's say 15 yards, right? Let's say a 15-yard sprint takes just a couple seconds. It might be a 20-second walk back, 25-second walk back, 30-second walk back, and we're taking our time. And I encourage communication between our teams. And then when we step back up onto that line, I want you to go through your routine, right? Again, how do you attack this? How do you do this every day? Figure out your routine and figure out where you can do it. Every time we step onto the rack, I want you to go through your routine, right? Because you're getting ready to lift, right? You're getting ready to do something that is intense. Just like when you're stepping out onto the field, you're getting ready to do something that is intense. So when you step up onto that rack, mindset, right? Focus, use your routine, right? And my routine that may drive me is a deep breath, right? As a pitcher, that's what I use out on the mound. Boom, it just dials me in right away, right? No matter what I'm doing, okay? Use that to your advantage, okay? So when you are doing those things, right, segue, yeah, that's great. You separate them. That is perfectly fine. I wouldn't put them together. Just the responses from the body aren't ideal, and so your growth will be lessened. You'll still see growth, but it won't be at the level that you were expecting. So, other questions? What else?
Don't be shy, you guys.
Yeah, fire away. It don't matter what it is. I'll answer it if I can. If I know the answer. If I don't know the answer, yeah.
Well, I'll just throw one out for them.
Yeah.
If you could just give them 2 or 3 bits of advice for, a high school athlete who wants to play at the college level, like what should their routine look like? You don't gotta get super specific. What should they be focused on within their routine if you're a high school athlete?
I mean, for me, the biggest one is that daily commitment to being great. I think the mindset for that, and then the actions required, right? Again, that's what the elite do. You know, you can go find somebody who's elite in their craft. I guarantee you they don't think the same way as everybody else. They don't, right? That's why they're elite, right? So taking that elite mindset, right from the beginning, from day one, again, it doesn't have, it's, you know, you're going to go in and out, and that's okay. But try to challenge yourself to be elite in your thoughts, right? We went through that, your worksheet, go through it, figure out what an elite, right? Look it up. What does an elite mean? What is it? You know, what are those different components for being the best? Figure them out. Right? Try to live them every day. Right? And then consistency and action. That's it, right? That's being disciplined, right? Stay consistent in your work, right? Do little things every day, and you will reach those goals that you set out, right? I mean, like I said, I wanted to be a college baseball player, right? I had the option to go to Salisbury University or to go to Towson. I wanted to challenge myself and play. I knew I could play at a Division I level, but I also knew it was going to be hard, you know. And then when you step in there that first day, and everybody's really good, like you had good players on your team in high school, but then you step into like a Division I team, and we had a guy that I came in with. He was a second-round draft pick with the Texas Rangers. I mean, he was one of the top 100 pitchers in the country, well, maybe even the world, right, at that time. One of the top 100 pitchers in the world, or players, not pitchers, position players in the world. And he's a guy that I got to go against every day to show my value, right, my worth. I mean, those guys are good. Again, I want to believe that my work ethic and my consistency in the work that I did allowed me to get there, right? It wasn't going to allow me to continue. If I stopped it, it wouldn't allow me to continue to be there. The coach would have gotten rid of me because I wasn't talented enough, right? So, yeah, talent's critical. Talent but again, you have that talent. You can improve it through skill development. You can improve it through your strength, speed, and agility work that you're doing, and that can enhance your performance to some degree. And it's all got to be there. So to me, those two, going back, being that consistency in action is critical, and the mindset we take every day would be the two biggest things I'd work on. Awesome. Other questions? Anything else you guys can think of?
Real quick, Coach. Any tips on leaders on how to push their teammates without trying to throw like a negative comment in there, and like how to receive it per se?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, that's tough, right? It's tough because nobody wants to be looked at as everybody wants to be liked, right? I mean, that's where people are afraid to call other people out. And I think it's critical, you know, in that standpoint to really have, and, you know, we met with John O'Sullivan yesterday. So he wrote the book, Every Moment Matters. And he came on for our book club at Salisbury, and it was fantastic. But some of the things that he was talking about, you know, that he talks about, again, yes, everybody wants to be liked. And we've got to have this alignment piece, you know, these pieces to really help us out, to understand that it's not a personal attack, right? It is really just to get better, right? So the very first thing about that is really creating great relationships, right? Creating great relationships with your teammates, right? Being able to go to a teammate for whatever it is, like, to me, that's critical. It is not a top down, hey, I'm the senior, I'm the captain, I'm the leader. That's not how it works, right? You never become elite when it's in a hierarchy in terms of leadership. We want a horizontal leadership, right, where anybody can step in and say anything, right? Being able to create that is tough, okay? The first one, like I said, is engage your athletes, create relationships. Right? So engage your teammates, create relationships, figure out how, as a senior, how do you create a relationship with that freshman on the team, right? You know, I know, for example, our program at Salisbury with a men's lacrosse team is those seniors do get underclassmen who they are connected, coach connects them, and they virtually have to do anything and everything together, right? And it's trying to create relationships so that freshman understands, but also because it's not this top down, it becomes this horizontal where we expect that those young players, if they're not meeting the standard, right? That you're going to say something to them, right? And at the same time, they'll say something back to you, right? If you're not meeting standard, and hold each other accountable. But it really starts with relationships, right? Second piece then is, as a group, you got to have goals, right? If your team doesn't have goals, doesn't have vision, doesn't have a mission, you're going to struggle. It's going to be tough, right? So if you want to if you guys don't have them on your teams, ask your coaches, hey, we would like to sit down, define our goals, define our vision, right? Define our mission, how we're going to go about this every day, because it allows everybody to be in alignment. If you're out of alignment, right, being a leader is challenging, right? It makes it way harder because, well, who are you? You know, who are you to say what should be done or shouldn't be done, right? And then, next one is just making sure everybody has the opportunity to do it, right? So that we equip everybody with that. And a lot of it is just saying, hey, like, if I'm out of place, if I'm not in my alignment, I want you to say something to me, right? And same thing, hopefully I can say something to you. And understand, we always close it out with a high five, body, chest bump, fist bump, whatever. Hey, it wasn't a direct knock on you by any means, right? It's saying, hey, this high five is a reminder that we want great things, that we want to be elite, right? And elite mindsets, right? Elite mindset takes it and accepts criticism, right? And understands that this is what they need to do to become the best, right? And we'll accept that, right? And then the last piece is just encourage others, right? Continue to encourage to be the best, right? Encourage defined as giving strength of heart, right? You've got to continue to encourage people, right? When people are down, right, encourage them. And it kind of goes back to some of that creating better relationships. But hey, encourage, right? Keep your head up, right? There's that one video basketball player. I can't remember specifically what happened, but he's running back on the court. Player comes over, lifts his head up. He didn't even say a word to the guy. Just lifted his chin up. Say, hey, keep your head up. Right? That's what that means, right? That's an encouragement, right? That's what leaders do, right? Leaders inspire others to follow them. Right? And again, it's relationship driven, right? Number one, you can't create good relationships with teammates, right? You're going to struggle as a leader. Cool question. Very cool question. Others, anything else? Awesome. Again, I'm right here. I'm in Salisbury. So if you guys ever want to chat, talk a little bit more, like I said, I've sent this to Coach, so he's got it. He'll have the worksheets, be able to send those out to you guys so you can really work on these things, right? Analyze, assess yourself. Again, how good do you want to be, right? How great do you want to be? It is a choice that you get to make every day. Right? Nobody makes it for you. It is the choice you make, right? And understand that. Right? Evaluate yourself. Understand where you currently sit. Set your goals so that you can reach, right, your vision. Reach that pinnacle. Become elite. Focus on your mindset, and then just get after it. Thank you guys for coming on today. I appreciate it. Appreciate you, Coach, for allowing me to come on and talk to everybody today. It's been awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Appreciate it very much. And just kind of give everybody else another little tidbit. I will supply you guys with those worksheets and that commitment tracker. But kind of like Coach was saying, ball's going to be in your court. I'm going to supply it to you. I'm not going to make it mandatory that you give it back to me. But if you choose that's something you want to start doing, you want to fill out that commitment tracker, you want to fill out those worksheets, that's something Coach Bravo, Coach Will, Coach M, and I can help you guys stay accountable for. It's important to have that core team in your corner for those days where you aren't feeling motivated. But for the most part, you have to be the one to step up and you have to be the one to get it done. But on those days where you don't feel as motivated, it's our job to pull you out of that. So again, I will supply that to you. But ball's on your court. If you guys want to turn it into me, give it to one of the coaches, we'll hold you accountable. So that's all on you though.
Awesome.
Well, Coach Nein, we'll go ahead and let you swing on out of here. We've taken up way too much of your time now. Definitely appreciate you for coming on and doing this.
Awesome.
Hopefully a lot of athletes receive some value out of this. And that's another thing, guys. I wrote this down and I meant to say something earlier. If you look at that scale that Coach supplied to you guys, you'll find that commitment brings you to 80%. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not an 80% guy. I think 80% it's barely over average. So even when we're at the 80%, realize, you're barely over average. There's still an extra 10% that you guys should be working for. And so look at that sheet. Look at the difference between committed, compelled, and what was the last one?
Committed and compelled are the top two. We don't want to be
Okay.
obsessed.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. What's the one after compelled?
Obsessed, and we don't want to get
Obsessed. Yeah, you don't want to be obsessed, guys. So realize there's a whole another one after committed. You should be going for the compelled. Realize the difference between compelled and obsessed, and I think that'll take you a very, very, very far in your athletic career or academic career, whatever you want to do. Well, with that being said, like getting a lot of thank yous in here. I hope you're reading this too, Coach.
Yeah, I see it.
I'm sure that they got a lot out of it, and if you guys have any questions, you can shoot them to me. I can direct them to Coach Nein, and I'm sure he'd be glad to help you guys out with anything. Maybe we'll get him out to a training session one day.
Yeah, I'll come out and get you guys, get after it with you guys.
Yeah, that'd be a good time, man. It'd be a good time. You can see the greatness happening. Briggs, my dad says you're good at poker.
I'd say a couple times.
Oh, there he is, Brian.
Matt the Cooler, 3-time.
3-time champ, baby. Elite mindset.
Greatness and everything.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, what I'll do, guys, we'll go ahead and let Coach Nein sign off of here. I'll keep the meeting going. If you guys want to hang back and ask Coach Bravo and I any questions. The training sheet is up for next week, so go ahead and register for your training slots. Looks like it's going to be a beautiful week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, week 3. So come ready to work, guys. Enjoy the long weekend of rest. John reached out to me today and said, hey, Coach, what can I do extra? And I love that, but realize we've worked really hard the past 2 weeks. A lot of you guys are training 3, 4, sometimes 5 times a week. You get better through recovery. Take this